Hi, everyone, and welcome to CenterFrame Selects, where a notable filmmaker selects their top 5 favorite short films or short scripts. Today, I'm welcoming Azhur Saleem. He is a fantastic TV director who's worked with everyone from Amazon to BBC Studios, ITV, etc., and has recently come back from directing Outlander and is going to move on to direct more big shows, hopefully really soon. But in the meantime, he's watched 20 short films from a long list that was submitted by you guys, and I'm so glad to have him with us. Thank you, Az, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Man, how long have we known each other? 20 years?
20 years.
Oh my
20
God.
years. We are old men now.
Okay, you look the same. I look old.
We both got gray coming out.
No, but you shave yours off. I'm flaunting my gray. No, we met in film school. Yeah, I think you were a year ahead of me, I think, or something like that.
A couple of times
but what was really interesting is to basically sort of see all the people that we sort of worked with and how everybody grew in slightly different places and where they worked. And it was really exciting to see your trajectory. I'd love to learn more, or just recap for me, I guess, and tell the others what your journey was like post film school and how you landed maybe the first big thing that really helped you move into the place where you are now.
Yeah. I mean, it's post film school is, I think, I don't know about you, but I feel like a lot of people came out thinking the world is your oyster and a producer's going to hand you a script and go make a movie for me. And that doesn't happen. At least it didn't for me.
It does not. No.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt exactly the same.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll just make a short and then I'll make a feature.
Exactly.
It's as simple as that.
For 50 million and it'll be fine. But it wasn't that. And so, it was a lot of years of kind of grafting and still doing short films. And like we graduated around, I was 2006, you were 2007. So so a couple of years before the financial crash as well. So, like it's, you come out of this world, and then I got an agent in commercials that lasted for about, I think, 2 years. Because I was the last one in, and then I was the first one out, essentially, when it all started to go down. And advertising was one of the first industries in a recession that kind of starts cutting costs straight away. So I was straight out after 2 years. So I think like at the time I did one kind of branded content. It was like a documentary for Hyundai. And that was it in 2 years. And so I was just like, wow, this isn't panning out. And then after that, it was a lot of no man's land, right? Like kind of pitching on stuff, writing feature scripts, writing short scripts, trying to look for funding, doing them all. BFI, London Microwave.
Oh, that was remember that. Jesus.
A feature, I think, under $1 million.
Was that with Warp Films or something?
It was with Warp, I think it was, yeah. And so, like, didn't get on those things, and you just kind of like doing odd jobs. I did some kind of corporate stuff, charity stuff as well, charity videos, and still just kept making short films. And each short film I made, you'd think this is going to be the one that gets me the ticket, and it isn't. But I think the good thing you have to always remember is that each one you make is making you better, even if it doesn't kind of open the door completely. I think you're kind of you're cracking open the door bit by bit. But it was a good kind of, I don't know, like 10 years maybe before things started to really kick off properly. And I did there was a feature script that was kind of getting some traction with, I think it was Film London. There was this thing that they did called Micro Market, where you go, like, I think 10 or 12 projects get selected and you pitch to financiers and investors. And we were getting some interest. We got some cast attached. And there were some private investors as well. And then it all just kind of fell apart. And it was that kind of domino effect of where the lead investor, who was kind of from the property world, just got cold feet, very close to when we were going to start prep. And then it all just kind of tumbled. Everybody panicked and just kind of pulled out their money. And it kind of fell apart. And it was through that. And this is how like your career can just take such funny turns. Our casting director, she said, well, why don't you meet up with this producer who might be able to give some advice, a guy called Jonathan Curling. And I met with him, and he works in television. And I remember his first thing he said was, I don't know fuck all about movies. And he laughed. And I was like, okay, great. It's like, but I'd like, let's have a chat and let's see what I can do. And we just chatted, and he was really lovely. And left the meeting without any kind of like, still don't know what to do with my film. But 2 months later, he got back in touch saying, I'm prepping for a TV show and we're looking for an assistant to the director and producer. And so I did that. I admittedly, at first I was a bit like, I'm beyond that, like I don't think I need to do that anymore. But my wife was like, don't be
Shut
stupid.
the hell up.
Yeah, do it. Which I did. And that is what led me to doing some second unit on the show. And then I got my agent via the director on that show. And the director was Alice Troughton, who did Doctor Who like 10 years prior. So then I was going to do one more short film. That was my kind of task. And I shot this film called Muse, which was a science fiction thing. And it was designed to try and attract Doctor Who interest. Like that was like the trajectory I was going to go.
Right.
So I knew I had Alice to kind of use to kind of get to the producers. And my composer on that show was short was Segun Akinola, who was at the time on Doctor Who. Right. And I knew Segun from a few years back. We were kind of talking about ideas to work on together. So it was a pincer move to get to the showrunner of Doctor Who and the producers. And when I finished that short film, and that was like completely self-funded as well. Like I put like everything, like including savings and like me and my wife's savings, like kind of everything at it.
Props to your wife for being
she was super supportive, and she was always like, I remember her saying to me, she was like, this is an investment into your career. And like, look, I was very lucky. There's not a lot of people who understand that and understand what it takes to work in this industry. So we just put everything on the line, which was terrifying.
And it worked.
Yeah. So it kind of landed at the right time, got to Chris Chibnall's desk, who was the writer and the showrunner at the time. And yeah, then I got an interview.
And the spot was open to direct Doctor Who.
Doctor Who, right? Yeah. So that was it's insane, but that was my first television gig.
And then everything was great after.
It was perfect, yeah. And it was that was during COVID as well, but it was 3 episodes, and I was kind of thrown in at the deep end. And I just you just have to kind of do the work and prep as much as possible and do a good job. And it just led to this, one job after the other led from recommendations on each show. And that's my way.
And that's what it comes down to. Get on set.
Yep.
Every single time. That's the best way, there is no better networking than getting on set, I find, because people know they like you.
Yeah.
They know they like working with you. They can see your work is good. And they'll be like, oh yeah, I'll talk to this person.
Yeah.
It's just getting on set is it, whether it's a short film, a TV show, anything that you can do, because you never know who you meet that could get you the next one.
Yes.
Weirdly enough, it sounds like it's an exceptional story that this is but this is a very slogging away at short films for 10 years.
Yeah.
It's a very, very common thing.
Yes.
Is there a knowledge that you think is acquired knowledge that you just must get or learn or something like that you can't unless you do short films that long? Or do you think...
I think endurance is right, and perseverance. I think there is an element of people looking at you and seeing your track record of so many years doing short films, and kind of you see the hunger in those filmmakers. And because once you make it into the industry, it's still not easy, right? Like that's just the beginning. And you've got to have the perseverance, determination, the understanding of politics as well, how to navigate relationships, working relationships. So having done that grafting for 10 or 12 years, kind of demonstrates your ability to kind of withhold yourself in the industry, essentially.
I mean, this is acquired knowledge. There's no... learning this at film school.
Yeah.
This is a pure experience.
Yeah. Pure experience.
So, and I think that's what sort of the goal with Selects is, right? It's like we want to see if we can find these filmmakers that are exceptional storytellers that we think are at the level to go, hey, you should be paying attention to these filmmakers. They've been doing it for years. They're really, really good at it. And we want to use the platform to basically start highlighting these exceptional filmmakers, and obviously, what's interesting is we always notice, depending on the director we book, that's the films we get.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to just get a quick note on how the patterns that you saw on the films that you watched.
What I found really fascinating was, and I think it's a sign of our times, where there were a lot of films to do with kind of an anxiety about the world around them and how it's kind of affecting them, and where you fit into a world that's kind of constantly changing, that is damaging, and that's really kind of interesting and fascinating about where a younger generation is in this world that we've created. Like I really I feel like this world around us, we've, you know, with these tech companies and what's happening in the politics and world, and you know, we've built a world that's not built for us. I think that's kind of terrifying. and what we are trying to figure out as humans is how do we survive. And so there was a really interesting kind of pattern,
like a little thread through
out of all the short films. Not all of them, but you know, there was, I kind of picked up on that. But there is also kind of like, you know, like a genre kind of bent to some of these films as well.
Well, because it's you, though.
Because it's me, yeah. Which is me, you know, like it's kind of, that's what I'm interested in.
Well, those are the films you made, right?
Exactly, yeah. And it's hard to kind of, especially in this country, I find it's hard to navigate the industry here with a kind of love and interest of genre, even though it's, you know, like, look at the audiences and what they watch. It's mainly genre.
Yeah. So shall we have a look at the top 10 real quick? Let's cut to a quick reel of your top 10 picks.
Great.
Of the short films that were submitted. All right, so that were your top 10, you know, and one thing that is so exciting for me doing the part that I do in this whole thing, which is sort of help curate the short films across a wide spectrum of events and things like that, is the level of quality of short films that we come across these days is exceptional.
It's so good. I'm laughing because like I think back at our short films and
dude, they suck by comparison. Yeah, I mean, really, honestly, like I went to this tiny festival in Wrexham 2 years ago,
right?
And it was barely a festival. Yeah. It was a screening, but the films they were showing, the student films they were showing, were amazing.
Wow, yeah.
Like I was like, nothing we did at LFS, was at that level in 2005 or 6.
And like you say, like the quality. And not just like the visual quality, but just everything across the board, right? Like really interesting ideas with lighting, with editing, and you know, I think it's just everything's moving so quick now, and people. It's great to see filmmakers keeping up and trying new things.
And I think your top 10 are a very, very competitive list. Yeah. Like it's a really, really strong list. Yeah. Honestly, like I would love to just throw them all onto one and onto an hour slot and be like, you need to watch all of these.
Yes,
you know?
I agree.
They're genuinely, you need to watch all of these films. Yeah. If they're on CenterFrame and available to watch, you need to watch them. Highly recommended. But we're only going to talk about the top 5. And we're not going to do it. There's no winner here. Mm-hmm. This is an alphabetical order. And let's just get into it. Let's talk about the first one here. And in alphabetical order, the first one is Nervous Ellie by David York.
Yeah.
Tell me about Nervous Ellie.
So Nervous Ellie it's just a great short film that takes a really simple idea and executes it well. And it's about a nervous character called Ellie who's on a first date, and she gets progressively more nervous until there's this amazing twist at the end, which when it happens, it's one of those things where I kind of went, oh, that's great. And it's such a simple idea. It's one of those ideas where you go, oh, why has nobody ever done that before? And that's
honestly
brilliant. Yeah, that's really good. And it's a really good twist that it's kind of, they say like a twist should be inevitable and surprising. And it is both of those things. And it's joyfully done. It's kind of gory.
Great
and
performances.
Really good performances. And I think, she's really great. I think it's really hard kind of getting good comedy performances, I find, in short films, but especially when you're starting off, because you're kind of at the mercy of the comic timing of whoever you cast. But she's great, and she kind of gets that kind of nervousness and slightly kind of hyperacting just done really well. And as it gets more and more darker, she handles it really great.
I completely agree. I mean, I've known David York for a few years now. I came across him in the very early days of CenterFrame. David is one of those, I will absolutely do anything people, so he will submit his film to absolutely anything he can do. He'll go to every event you can. Like, I bump into him all the time, and he's a really, really great guy, super talented, and I was so glad he made this, because they made it with no money. Right, like there's nothing, and it doesn't look no money, it looks big money.
Yes, and what's really nice is it's we've seen so many short films that are set in a restaurant or a bar and two people sat facing each other, and I think the fact that you start in the bathroom where she's trying to, where Ellie's trying to gear herself up to go back out and act normal in this state. But I think even I was looking at the short, and just that opening shot, it starts on the tiles, and it's just the way it's framed just shows a kind of just a real nice kind of sophistication.
Also a great location selection.
Great location. The color design is great. The sound is great, and the music is great. And that, I love the kind of the music over the titles. It tells you what the film is going to be about, without giving away the twist. But just really kind of pared back photography and framing to let the story play out. It's great.
I agree. And and I laughed at the end.
Me too.
I was literally laughing when I saw it. I was like, oh my God, that's fucking brilliant. And it made me immediately think of it made me think, this is the kind of thing Neil Gaiman would write. He would take a word concept
and turn it real.
Make it literal. And I was like, dude, it's I'm amazed he hasn't done that. Why is this not in a Sandman comic? You know what I mean? Or something like that. It's such a great idea. And so simple.
The imagery was great. When it happens, I love that it slowed down. It didn't play it really quickly. And it's quite beautiful to look at.
It's beautiful.
It's a really beautiful image.
If they hadn't pulled off those VFX, and shout out to Disauthority for doing a great job on that, genuinely. Because really that's not a guarantee with this. And the VFX need to nail this so the film works. Without that,
it falls apart.
So this is definitely a film where everything came together brilliantly.
I thought it was a really wonderful short film. Again, it's just it's really hard to do a simple idea and do it well, and it did it both.
I agree. Let's move on to the next one, shall we? The next film on the list is No Two Ways by Glenn Falthrop.
So this is a documentary, really lovely story that just kind of pulled me in.
It's an NFTS film.
NFTS, and it's I think it was a grad film, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And it's about a young, well, I don't know how old he is, but he's I'm not saying first, second generation Iraqi guy. I think he was born in this country.
I think so, yeah.
And it's about an allotment, and his dad used to have this allotment, and everybody in the allotment knew his dad, and his dad was very kind of diligent and looked after the allotment. And then I think when the dad passed away, our main character kind of took over, and he was a bit of a kind of ne'er-do-well. And what was really fascinating was the kind of access that they had to this story. And you find out about kind of a third in that he was on one of those shows, like the kind of speed cop things, you know, where you're kind of sat in the back of a police car. And he was one of the kind of people being arrested. And it just made me think, I was like, God, yeah, you never think about who those people are. And it was just so, I don't know, it just like, it was like a lovely kind of surprise. It's not a twist or anything, but it was just, I was like, that's a really fascinating character. And, you know, I think with documentaries, you need to have good access and a good relationship, and you can see that the director had that with the subject. And the guy was just himself a great storyteller, really funny,
very
charismatic, just great with his words, and so he just was a natural storyteller, and also quite kind of like standoffish at points as well, which was good. It was quite nice to see that. There's a sequence where he's going day after day, and it's like, not today, mate, close the door. Not today, mate, close the door. And that, you know, it's quite nice to see a subject saying, nah.
And they show, but credits for putting it in the movie.
Yeah.
Because normally they don't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Unless you're, what's his name, Louis Theroux.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he might do that.
Yeah.
You know, but like, I think it's a really, really smart choice.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a lovely character portrait.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a really, really lovely character portrait. And it's the first documentary that has been on Select.
Great.
So we've not had documentaries on here before.
Yeah, great.
And I'm glad you picked it because it is a fantastic film.
I thought it was really nicely done. You know, it was just, you could see that there was dedication from the filmmaking team as well. There's a story where, you know, he talks about where the character, I can't remember his name, but where the character, with the subject, he talks about a robin kind of coming up to him. And later in the film, they show the robin, and it just like that to me is like they had the dedication to wait for the robin to come back and film it jumping across the allotment, and that kind of just adds to the texture and the storytelling of it, and it just had a lovely kind of sweetness to it, without shying away from the dark side. This guy got arrested and I think spent some time in jail, and he's trying to rebuild his life, and just a really fascinating portrait.
I agree, and really well shot, really well cut. And though it's a longer film, it doesn't feel its length at all. And just as a very well told, really, really, it's a great, well put together documentary.
I think the music was really nice as well.
I agree.
I remember that being really lovely as well. Yeah.
So let's talk about your next one.
Great.
The next one in order is Plastic Surgery by Guy Trevelyan.
This is a great film. Really fun, another fun idea, right? Like taking a really kind of simple idea, and I guess it's a kind of day in the life of a surgeon in hospital, and a body comes in, or a person comes in, and they operate on them, and they find a plastic fork, and then as the day goes on, more and more people are coming in with real plastic objects in their body, and they have to operate and pull them out. And this idea that, you know, like microplastics are kind of growing inside our bodies, and it just kind of takes it to the nth degree, in a kind of horrifying way. And I remember there's this bit where you kind of go through the hospital, and there's a woman with straws coming out of her head. Like the design is so well done.
That's brilliant.
And it's kind of like darkly comic, but also terrifying at the same time. And for me, it's just a really simple idea done well, and it escalates really well, and the design was done brilliantly. The central performance was really good, and it was gory. Like sometimes gore can look really cheap, but this was really well done. Like it was horrific, and you feel the kind of chaos as it gets worse and worse, and you know, there's bodies strewn, people like with plastic cups out their legs and things like that, just filling the hospital ward.
I think it's interesting when you find an original take on what is essentially an environmental concept, you know, so this is about environmentalism, you know, but it turns it into body horror, which is really unique, like a really, really unique thing, you know, because normally body horror tends to be either about aesthetics or fear or surgery or things like it's that type of stuff. This is a body horror about environmentalism.
Yeah.
And I found that it's sort of an equivalent to what radiation used to be in the 80s.
Yes.
You know, that you would mutate because of radiation and stuff like that. This is the 21st century equivalent, because radiation isn't really the big concern these days.
Yes.
But microplastics is, to the point where, you know, we banned it or whatever it is. But I thought it was a really interesting sort of take that the plastic mutates you.
Yes.
You know?
And I also like that it didn't need to explain exactly how it got there, right? It's
No,
like,
but what for?
yeah,
You know?
exactly. And it's just like plastic items growing in your body. And you know, I think there was one bit where there was a girl who had a bottle in her throat. There's a real close up on the throat as they're pulling it out and it's moving. And so there's some great prosthetic stuff happening there. And there was sweat on the skin. It was just done really, really well. And it was just those moments of gore and detail that changes it from this kind of like darkly comic thing into this kind of like horrific idea that's happening. It was great. It was really well done.
I completely agree. Exceptional short film idea.
Yeah.
I do wonder if like with Nervous Ellie, I wonder whether there is feature film potential in this, or whether this is an aspect to a larger premise. You know, like so if there were a world where other things happened other than the microplastics, but all the terrible things we've done to this planet are now coming out of us. You know, so like in other places, it's not the microplastics, it's oil, or something, like we start sweating oil, or I don't know what it is.
That would be awful.
That would be awful. But you know what I mean, and so I feel like it would be interesting to see whether this could be taken to another level in a what's it called, the Substance-esque type way, because obviously there's a real character journey involved in the Substance, and so I'm curious whether this premise, like Nervous Ellie, has the opportunity
to take it further.
I think Nervous Ellie would be a great cold open.
It would actually. That's a great opening.
I think that's a great cold open to a potentially, I don't know,
it's a kind of fantasy horror thing.
It is fantasy horror, absolutely.
But it's also like, I think what's quite nice about Plastic Surgery is the central performance as well. Because
Agreed.
like she did a lot with very minimal dialogue, and I'm glad it was minimal dialogue as well. And you're just seeing her reaction as things get worse and worse, and she did it really well, as the kind of stakes escalated.
I mean, the escalation is brilliant. It's kind of. I mean, and I love it when it escalates to the surreal. That was always one of my favorite things that Ari Aster does, or that even when Key and Peele were still on the comedy thing, they always took a simple idea and just escalated it to the absurd, and you go, I can't believe they went there. And this film does that, and does it brilliantly. So I'm. Well picked. I completely agree with you. It's an absolute top 5.
Absolutely. Film, and what was quite nice as well is I remember at one point, like towards the end, like you even saw the kind of, there was a clock on the wall, and there was kind of something growing on the wall. You could basically, the set design was also changing as well as the actors and the prosthetics. So the whole world was kind of falling apart, which was a nice detail.
I agree.
And that just takes planning and thinking and it helps to create a unified vision.
But what's nice is that it's not just a film that's like an exercise in production design. Like there's a lot more to it than that, because this could be that. It could just be an exercise in production design. But again, it's a much deeper, much smarter movie than that.
And that's because it comes down to that central performance as well.
Agreed.
And also it's just great. I think if there was one thing for me, I was like, I don't think it needed the text at the end. Afterwards talking about microplastics. I think we all understand what it was. And as soon as it starts to happen, you start to figure it out by the first or second body. You go, oh my God, this is about plastics growing on our body. And we all know what that is. And so I think, like it just, it has this weight to it, which is terrifying. And I think that's what makes it scary.
I agree. I mean, some filmmakers make their movies because they want to make a very clear point. Like it's, and so this filmmaker chose that, look, I'm making a clear point and I don't want it to be ambiguous. I'm going to say what I need to say at the end of this, and fair enough, I guess, but I genuinely am on the side of storytelling first. So you make your point, but leave it in the subtext, and give me a character, give me a journey, give me an idea, take it where you need to take it, and let me be the judge of the point that you're making, the theme or the ideas that you're making. But the point is that, and I've seen great horror films about veganism and that the treatment of animals is terrible, and did a great job illustrating that. And there are filmmakers that are as much as they are great filmmakers, also have ideologies and campaigns that they want to show, and they want to make sure that is
imparted across.
It imparts at the end, you know. And this film chose to do that, and I think it works fine, you know.
Completely agree. Yeah, exactly.
It's not ham-fisted.
Yeah,
sometimes it's really ham-fisted.
Yeah.
But this film rides the line of being an interesting character journey and being well told, while also having a really important message.
100%. Yeah,
extremely well. You know, so on a simple filmmaking standpoint,
very well done.
A class. Let's move on to the next one. So we've got two left. The next one is Satisfaction by Bailey Tom Bailey.
So Satisfaction it's a great short film. It's about two women who are
it's Bridgerton with guns.
Yeah. Basically. That's a great way of putting it.
It's basically what it is. It's Bridgerton with guns.
And it's just like, I really, really enjoy this. It's funny, and it's got a little bit of drama as well. So there's 4 characters in it, and each 4 of them are perfectly defined. And that comes down to performance, and then costume, hair, and makeup. Like the 4 of them are completely different. And it just, you know, they're so alive, and they come off the screen. They've got a different color palette. And it's funny as well, right? And it's just a shootout that happens, you know, guns at dawn kind of thing. But the performances are great as well. Like, and there's lots of kind of like texture and detail within the performances, which I really, really kind of enjoyed.
I agree. I mean, just a little bit of background. Satisfaction came out of our very first Get It Made competition.
I believe, yeah.
So from like a few years ago. Yeah. And it is one of my favorite films that have basically come about. And I'm glad you selected it, because I think, and it's on CenterFrame on our YouTube channel right now. It's doing extremely well. Like, what are we on? Like 100-something thousand views. It's blowing up, like, because it's great.
Because it's great,
genuinely great.
It's just a really, like, what I loved about it. Literally, I think it was 3 shots. The first 3 shots, it set up the story. No dialogue. You know exactly what's going to happen. You see the characters. You see the guns in the little cabin, in the box that they get, and you go, okay, great. It's you know, like, it's going to be a standoff essentially. Yeah. So you know what it's about, and then you're just waiting for it to play out. And again, you know, it's the way
it's really
it's shot.
Suspenseful though.
Yeah, it's suspenseful because I think each round is done differently, which I think is great. The way it's shot, the way it's cut together. Like the second round, I loved that it played in the wide shot, and it plays on the comedy of it. Like, that was done really well. And then the third round, it builds up with much more kind of drama and tension. You got the camera pushing in on each person, so each one felt like a different flavor, and that's what makes it engaging and exciting and funny as well. And it's just a simple idea, and you know, at the end, and I just love the kind of recurring thing. Are you satisfied? No. Oh my God, you're going to go again. No, you're going to go again until the very end.
But also that the other characters are like, oh my God, we're going again.
Yes,
This is already insane.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think that escalates it brilliantly. You know, the writer and the director of it. I know the writer is working on a TV show version of this. And it's trying to get and it's a genuinely great setup. Like it's awesome. I'm
listen, I'd love to read that.
if there is a script already, I'm gonna send it to you.
Yes,
because it's because I know they were working on it. I don't know how far they are on it.
Great,
but I think it's brilliant. I absolutely adore it. And actually, Chris Buckley, the writer of it, he's an actor, and he was on the Stranger Things show. Not the show, the stage show.
Amazing!
So he was the lead on that.
Wow!
You know? So he's a fantastic actor. He's a really fun guy. He's very excitable. He's really cool. And Bailey is a brilliant director.
Yeah.
I really I have a lot of room for both of those, and they will go a long way.
I completely agree. And again, like, you know, it's a really simple setup, and for me, it's like
and they had no money.
I mean, you can't tell though, because I think the costume is done really well.
They did a brilliant job with it.
But it's the way the camera is used to tell the story, with limited resources, right? Like, there wasn't any fancy shots and big crane shots or drone shots, but it was an understanding of how to use framing to either play for drama or for comedy, when to move the camera, when not to move the camera. And then just even at the end, you know, the final shot, you see through the kind of bullet hole and then you see the character. Just that is just a nice little detail. We've seen shots like that before, but where it comes into this story and how it's used, it's
satisfying.
I was going to say
it's
very
really
satisfying.
I completely agree with you. It's so well done.
Yeah.
And I loved the script when I read it. I was like, please be a good movie.
Yeah.
You know, please. Like sometimes
execution is what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you just don't know. But what was so great about the whole Get It Made thing we were doing is that the writers pair with the directors they liked. So it was the writers that picked the directors.
Right.
As opposed to the directors normally picking the script.
Yeah.
So the way it worked is that you had the writers came with their scripts. The directors expressed interest, but it'd be multiple directors that picked it. Then each writer sat down with the directors that were interested.
I mean, this is television.
Each of them picked,
this is what
exactly
you do in television.
And then the teams that really, the writers that really liked the pitches from the directors picked the ones. The producers, which aren't there that many usually, just saw which projects were happening. Like, I want to work on this. And then they got that off the ground. And I know they did this one for nothing.
Yeah.
And every penny and whatever they didn't have ended up on screen. It's fantastic.
I think it's done really well. And I think a shout out as well to the music as well. I think it's kind of Carter Burwell style, Coen Brothers kind of comedy vibe to it. And then it built nicely to the drama at the end. And just nicely done.
Agreed. Let's move to your final selection.
Let's do it.
Your last one on this list is We Dream in Color by Kane Wilson.
So this is a very ambitious science fiction short, and I loved it. It was great. It's just about a woman. It's in a world where people can buy dreams to kind of experience kind of very intense dreams, and then she gets this one that seems to be from kind of black market and gets hooked on it. It's kind of like an addiction essentially, and her world spirals apart, and she gets obsessed with the person she's seeing in this dream. And it's a film that is kind of like it could be so close to kind of falling under the weight of all its ideas. But I think what I find commendable, especially not just even short film, I think in any medium, TV or film, to be able to handle those resources to make it work is just an amazing achievement. And it's clearly there's quite a bit of money to this. And I
don't know how much money.
Well, this is like even more like, but my point being, like, I don't think it's about the money. Like for me, it's like how those resources are used, and whatever the budget was,
maximized it.
Yeah, maximize it exactly. And I thought it was just done so well. I thought so. The story, first of all, like the idea of reality, and dreams and what's real, and how you can kind of get obsessed with both. Like I thought it was a really interesting idea to make her workplace. Done through this visor. So she sits at home and she puts it on, and then she's suddenly in this other room with completely different makeup and lighting and everything. And it's kind of almost like a white box room. And this idea that your work is also through a visor that you kind of, it's not real. So it kind of keeps playing to that anxiety of what's real and what isn't. So it's almost like a dream in itself. So I thought that was really interesting. And then, I think the visuals are really great. It had real texture to it, and I absolutely love that. That's something that I do in my work, and I love it when I see it. Like there's a texture to the world, that kind of the real world that we're in, and then when you go into the dreams, it feels like it's shot on film. It's got this kind of 16mm quality. It's got this kind of creamy light, and even though it's in a kind of stately home, so already visually it looks different. And then again, her work had just a different kind of texture quality to it. And I thought that was very commendable.
I think what's really exciting is that this could have felt Black Mirror-ish.
Yeah.
And it didn't, but obviously there's something about this.
Yeah.
That, sure, fine. You could dismiss it as, okay, it's like that. I did not feel that at all with this.
Yeah.
I felt like I was entering a unique vision, a unique world told by a really unique filmmaker.
Yeah.
And I read the script before I saw the film.
Right.
Because the script has made it onto Selects as well previously. And some of the issues that were in the script where I was like, okay, I hope they fix that. Blah, blah, totally fixed it.
Yeah.
Made it better, especially the ending made it much better. And the film... Honestly, my visualization of it did not look like this.
Wow, yeah.
So the fact that they gave me something. And as I said, I watch a lot of films. I read a lot of scripts.
Yeah.
At some point you go, all right, I know how this is going to look.
Yeah.
I have a feeling, how this is going to go. And be right about 80% of the time, I'd say. The other 20% are when it's either so bad or so good.
Yeah.
And this was so good.
Yeah.
Like the level that this film operates on is exceptional.
Yeah.
Genuinely exceptional. And it's a shame that it's a genre movie that's not going to find the festival recognition that this should deserve.
Yeah.
Because this should be a film in a major festival.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, like but it's genre.
Yeah.
And so therefore it might do some more genre festivals, but this should be in the Sundance.
Yeah. I think the good thing is, like, something like this is the type of film that can get you work, because it
for sure
shows that you can kind of handle multiple departments. This is what I really liked about it. Not one department was let down.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, like, and I thought it was like a really effective use of VFX as well. Like, I've seen so many sci-fi, especially sci-fi short films, where you start with this kind of vista of London or whatever, and it's like super science fiction and super futuristic, and it's really good, right? And you cut to an underground car park with like minimal set design, and it's like, ooh, that kind of like doesn't match up. And if we had this short film starting in the underground car park without that VFX shot, that might have just worked. But I think it's the fact that something is so amazing in its fidelity and then contrasted with your limited resources that can make the film fall apart. In this, they used the VFX really well to not, like, it was, I think it looked like a plate that looked like real buildings, and they just added stuff on. There was a lift on the side. I don't know what was real, and that's great. And it matched the level of the production design. So it all had a balance to it. And the same with, the visors and the costume design and the lights that they used. There's a bit where she goes to the dream dealer, and he's got this kind of really simple, like, net of lights behind him. Very simple, very effective, but it just puts you in a different world, and it's the right amount of design, which I thought,
which is hard to get,
which is hard to
do right. Yeah. I've seen sci-fi films at various scales.
Yeah.
And doing sci-fi is not easy.
Yeah.
It is a really, really hard thing to feel like you're not just automatically invoking Blade Runner,
yes,
or automatically invoking some other thing that somebody else has done before, or have your unique take on the thing that you've already seen. It's like, how do you have your take on this to be unique enough so you can build a compelling world and give me some. And world building is hard.
World building is very hard.
Especially in a short film.
Yeah,
you don't have the time.
Yeah.
So to do world building well, is difficult on script level, and did extremely well on script level.
Yeah.
But even harder when you've got, and I don't care what film it is, you always have limited resources, but to do it well and to keep it compelling, it's extremely hard to do. I think and the fact that it strikes that balance extremely well.
Yeah. I think I think one of my favorite bits of world building was towards the end, where she goes into the restaurant or this bar, and it starts on a shot of a guy crawling on the floor, and he's got this kind of like weird kind of visor on, and it looks like some sort of BDSM thing, but it just scans past him and off you go. And it's just something that doesn't need to be explained, but it feels like it's part of that world, and you buy it. It's texture. And that is, like, I think, really clever world building, but it's hard to kind of pull that off and do it right. And sometimes I don't even know what it is that makes it work, but it was just kind of surprising enough to kind of go, oh, okay, this is a different world. And then you're into a very kind of modern looking bar, which the choice that they made, that the filmmaker made to go into that location, had this kind of like tunnel before you got into the bar, which had these kind of like, I don't know, metallic sides to it, or some kind of bead curtain. But it was just, again, it was just a clever use to make it feel like our world, but just slightly
ahead,
20 minutes in the future.
No, I think and doing that tastefully is the trick, really. Is to get that right, because it's not easy to do, and when you do it well, you're in it. Then you don't. And I think there's one thing. Actually, I've seen this a couple of times with production designers that want to become directors. So they're really good at building the visual element of it, but then they get caught up in the production design. So it looks amazing,
Yeah, yeah.
but then they film their own work too long.
Yeah, yeah.
And forget that they actually should be moving along with the drama.
Yeah.
And I've seen that a couple of times where somebody had like a really authentic like World War II weapon that they were showing off.
Right, okay.
And they spent all the time assembling the World War II weapon. I was like, you don't need to show. I know you've got it, but in the end, that should be texture. I don't need to see how authentic that World War II.
It's the same. I remember like after Minority Report came out, and there was like a whole host of short films of people doing the on monitors that were like made out of perspex, and then they and then they put the displays on there, and all these short films became just VFX reels because there was no story. And I think with this, there was a great central performance. I thought she was great. And seeing her descent, like it's such a big idea, and it could have fallen apart, and it just,
and in the hands of somebody else, it might have.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that this was handled the way one is really, really nicely done. So that's your top 5.
That's my top 5.
Really, really great selection. I think I think it is really exciting to see. Also, it's a nice variety. Obviously, a little bit on the genre on it, but I'm glad you picked a documentary as well, because I think that mixes it up really, really nicely.
Honestly, I thought it was really tough to kind of get to that top 5. There were so many other great films. And it's just all of exceptional value. And I think, it doesn't always have to be about budget level as well. But it's about how you use your limited resources well to tell your story. Like I always think, people bandy around the phrase, "Oh, that's cinematic," and I think they just mean it looks cool. But
it's got shallow depth of field.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's for me, cinematic is when all the departments are working towards a unified vision. And I think all of these short films have that. Like it feels like everybody was telling the story. Tight. Exactly. And it all stems from story and character. Like if all your choices come from that, then it's going to work. And that's how you can build upon that, right? You can then have a really simple story of 2 people on a date, or you have a world that you've created built around somebody's descent into kind of madness.
Agreed. I very, very much agreed. To wrap this up, I would love to just hear from you where you think short films are. And I mean, I know you don't dabble too much into short films these days, as most people who actively work in the industry, but we're actively trying to push short films into the mainstream as a mainstream consumable. And I'd love to hear more from you as to if you've seen anything on that side, and also like what if there's anything that you've learned over the past 10 years where you can go, you know what, everybody should really be thinking about this. If there's anything like that.
Well, I think there was a bit of a trend, I think, after we finished film school, where short films were purely a vehicle to get to features. Now, obviously short films are a vehicle to get to features and TV, but it was the whole proof of concept thing, right? Like and it meant that there were all these short films that didn't have a beginning, middle, and end, and it was almost like an extended trailer. I made some as well. So it's nice to kind of like go back to just a story well told that have a beginning, middle, and end, and I think it's nice that kind of people are just doing that. Obviously, then you can still take it off and it kind of develop it for a feature or a TV show, but it's nice to have that kind of contained unit, and I think that's what audiences want. They just want, it's just like a punchline. It's like a joke. You just want it to be told really well. So I think it's good to see that's happening more and more. I think that's the kind of stuff that I'm interested in watching, and I think audiences do want to see that as well.
Because there's more appeal than just the industry appeal.
Yeah.
Because
average
Joe Blow is not going to watch the trailer.
Crap
with the trailer. If there's no real movie.
They'll be like, when's it out?
Well, exactly. So when is it? Exactly.
Yeah.
So no, give us a movie. Yeah. You can still have that. It could be a peripheral story from your feature story.
Yes.
That you turn into the feature film.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's not the short film specifically that's going to make you get the feature film made. The short film is probably going to get you into a door that's going to lead you down another path, that's going to let you work with the thing here or there, and then at some point you may have to make another short film, but at some point then you have the opportunity to make a feature. probably for somebody else before you make your own.
Yeah.
You know, and I know you're working on your own.
Yep.
But at the moment, you're working on other people's stuff.
Yeah.
And I think people need to consider that.
Yeah.
You know, as far as a job goes.
Yeah. And you know what? Everybody starts off being a writer director as well. I think because you just
film schools teach us.
Well, exactly.
That this is definitely a thing.
Yeah.
You know?
And I really enjoy working on other people's scripts because that's the kind of it's the kind of interpretive side of directing. Like you take the words and it's like, how are you going to visualize this? And I really, really enjoy that. So there's stuff that I'm working on that I'm developing, that I'm working with writers on, but it can be my idea. But then there's other scripts that people have kind of done on their own, and I enjoy doing that as well. But it's kind of flexing the different side of your directing and writing directing and just directing. It's important to recognize that is a career path.
Thanks very much for picking your top 5.
You're welcome.
It's really, really appreciated.
I really enjoyed it.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
And I want to do this again.
Yeah, let's
because
do it.
I think you got sent some amazing films, and I think we can get you an even bigger selection next time.
Great.
No, we're going to keep it to 20 for you to select, but we got a really, really healthy selection of films that we can forward onto you.
Great, yeah.
And I think we can get more of that. And I really enjoyed talking with you.
Yeah,
we always
too.
end up talking for hours. I don't know how we do it. I hope this isn't too long of an episode.
Not at all.
But I'm really glad that you did this, and thank you, Az, for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.